My GF called me a tradesman who would never amount to anything at dinner with her friends until I revealed my salary was double what their office boyfriends made. Now she's desperate to get back together. I, 27 am an electrician and I own my electrical contracting business. I started it 3 years ago after working for someone else for 4 years. Business has been really good. I make around $140,000 a year and I own my house outright. No mortgage, no debt except for my business equipment loans which are almost paid off. I work hard but I love what I do and I'm proud of what I've built. I've been with my girlfriend Tamara, 25F, for about 10 months now. She moved into my house 6 months ago. Tamara works as an assistant manager at a high-end jewelry store downtown. When we first started dating, she seemed really impressed with my house and how I had my life together at my age. She would always tell her friends how mature and responsible I was compared to other guys she had dated. Everything was great for the first few months. About 4 months ago, things started changing. Tamara made some new friends at work, 2 women named Veronica and Bianca who both work in the same shopping center. Veronica works at an expensive clothing boutique and Bianca works at some fancy cosmetic store. They're both dating guys who work in offices. Veronica's boyfriend Tom works in advertising and Bianca's boyfriend Dewey works at a bank. Tamara started hanging out with them more and more. At first I didn't mind because I wanted her to have friends. But then she started making these little comments about my work. She would ask why I couldn't get a job in an office like a normal person. When I tried to explain that I made more money than most office workers and that I loved running my own business, she would just roll her eyes and say that wasn't the point. Then she started complaining about my house. She said it was too far from downtown and that we should move to one of those new apartment complexes near where she works. I asked her why we would pay $2,500 a month in rent when we lived in a house that was completely paid for. She said I didn't understand because it wasn't about money, it was about lifestyle. She wanted to be where all the action was. The comments got worse over time. She started referring to my business as just a little side job. When people asked what I did, she would say I did some electrical work on the side, like it was a hobby instead of a full business with 3 employees. It really bothered me but every time I brought it up, she would say I was being too sensitive. 2 weeks ago, she told me she wanted to go to dinner at this expensive steakhouse downtown. She said she had made reservations for Saturday night. I thought it was going to be a nice date night, just the 2 of us. But when we got there, Veronica and Bianca were already sitting at the table with their boyfriends. Tamara had invited them without telling me. I should have left right then, but I didn't want to make a scene. The whole dinner was awkward from the start. When Tamara introduced me, she said I ran a maintenance company. Not an electrical contracting business, a maintenance company. Like I was a janitor or something. Tom and Dewey spent the whole dinner talking about their jobs and their investment portfolios. Dewey kept going on about some certification he was getting and how it was going to help him move up in the bank. Tom was bragging about some advertising campaign he worked on that everyone had probably seen on social media. Meanwhile, Tamara kept steering the conversation away from my work every time someone asked me about it. When Dewey asked what kind of maintenance work I did, Tamara jumped in and said we should talk about something else because work talk was boring. Then Veronica started talking about this trip to Hawaii that she and Tom were planning. Bianca chimed in about how Dewey had surprised her with a weekend in Nashville for her birthday. Tamara immediately said that we never did anything romantic like that. I reminded her that we had tickets to go to Colorado next month for a hiking trip, but she waved that off and said that didn't count because it wasn't a real vacation. Veronica and Bianca both made these fake sympathetic faces and started talking about how their boyfriends were always planning surprises and romantic getaways. Bianca actually said that camping wasn't romantic and that real men plan proper vacations. I just sat there while they basically insulted everything I had planned for us. The worst part came when the check arrived. Dewey made some joke about how expensive the place was and how it was worth it to treat the ladies right. Then Tamara looked right at me and said that some people just don't understand what it means to provide for their girlfriend. I asked her what that was supposed to mean. She said she was tired of pretending that everything was fine when it wasn't. She said she deserved better than dating someone who had no ambition and would never be able to give her the life she wanted. She said her friends' boyfriends were going places in their careers while I was just going to be doing electrical work forever. Then she said the thing that really got to me. She said that I couldn't even take care of her properly and that she was embarrassed to tell people what I did for work. She said that Tom and Dewey were real professionals while I was just a tradesman who would never amount to anything more. I had been sitting there taking all of this quietly, but when she said that, I started laughing. Not because it was funny, but because it was so ridiculous. Here she was, talking about how I couldn't provide for her, sitting at a dinner that cost more than she makes in a week. I asked Tom how much he made at his advertising job. He got uncomfortable but said around $65,000. I asked Dewey the same question and he said he made $78,000 at the bank. Then I told them that I made $140,000 last year and that this year was looking even better. The whole table went quiet. Veronica and Bianca looked shocked. Tamara's face went red and she started stammering something about how money wasn't everything. I pointed out that she had just spent the last hour telling me that I couldn't provide for her and that she was embarrassed by my job. I pulled out my wallet, counted out exactly $45 for my portion of the bill, put it on the table, and walked out. I left Tamara there with her friends to figure out how to pay for the rest of their expensive dinner. I drove home and went to bed. Tamara didn't come home until the next morning. She left her key on the kitchen counter and took some of her clothes. There was a note saying that she was going to stay with Veronica for a few days to give me time to cool off and that we would talk when I was ready to apologize. That was a week ago. She's been sending me texts every day asking when I'm going to apologize and when she can come home. She even had Veronica text me yesterday saying that Tamara was really hurt and that I embarrassed her in front of her friends. I haven't responded to any of the texts. Honestly, I don't know what to say. Part of me thinks maybe I overreacted by walking out like that. But another part of me is really bothered by how she talked about my work and how she seems so embarrassed by what I do for a living. I built my business from nothing. I work hard, I make good money, and I'm proud of what I do. I don't understand why she would be embarrassed by that or why she would think that some guy making half what I make in an office job is somehow better than what I've accomplished. Am I wrong here? Should I apologize for walking out? Or was I right to be upset about how she was treating me? Update 1. I wanted to update everyone on what happened after my original post. Thank you to everyone who commented and gave me advice. It really helped me see the situation more clearly. After I posted, I didn't contact Tamara at all. She kept texting me for about another week, asking when I was going to apologize and when she could come back home. I ignored all of them. Then the text stopped for a few days. 2 weeks ago, I ran into my old friend Paula, 26F, from high school at the grocery store. We used to be pretty close but lost touch after graduation when she went away to college. She's back in town now working as a physical therapist at the hospital. We ended up talking for about an hour in the parking lot, just catching up on everything that had happened over the years. She told me about her job and how much she loved helping people recover from injuries. She asked about my business and seemed genuinely interested in how I had built it up from nothing. She didn't act like there was anything wrong with being an electrician. In fact, she said she thought it was impressive that I had started my own company so young. Before we left, she gave me her number and said we should get coffee sometime to catch up more. I texted her that same evening and we made plans for the following weekend. Our coffee date went really well. Paula is funny and down to earth. She asked lots of questions about my business and seemed impressed when I told her about some of the bigger commercial jobs I had landed recently. She told me about some of her patients and how rewarding her job was, even when it was challenging. We ended up talking for 3 hours. When she saw my truck in the parking lot, she said it looked really professional with my company logo on the side. She asked if I could give her a business card in case any of her friends needed electrical work done. It felt so different from how Tamara had been treating my work lately. I asked Paula if she wanted to come over for dinner that weekend. I told her I would cook and we could watch a movie. She said yes and seemed excited about it. That Friday, I spent the afternoon cleaning the house and getting everything ready. I made pasta with homemade sauce and garlic bread. When Paula arrived, she brought a bottle of wine and some flowers for the kitchen table. She said my house was beautiful and asked how long I had lived there. When I told her I owned it outright, she was amazed. She said most people our age were still renting apartments and that I should be really proud of what I had accomplished. We had a great evening. Paula loved the food and said she couldn't believe I could cook so well on top of everything else. We watched a comedy and she laughed at all my jokes. When she was getting ready to leave, she hugged me and said she had had the best time she'd had in months. The next morning, Tamara showed up at my door. She had 2 suitcases with her and her eyes were all red like she had been crying. She said she was sorry about the dinner and that her friends had convinced her she was being stupid. She wanted to move back in and work things out. I told her I didn't think that was a good idea. She started crying harder and said that Veronica and Bianca had been telling her that she was crazy for being embarrassed about my job. She said they had looked up how much electricians make and realized I probably made more money than their boyfriends. She said she had been thinking about it and that she understood now that I was successful and that she should have been proud of me instead of embarrassed. She begged me to give her another chance and said she would never act that way again. I told her that the problem wasn't just what happened at the dinner. It was months of her making little comments about my work and acting like what I did wasn't good enough. I said that if she really thought those things about me, then maybe we weren't right for each other. She got upset and said that wasn't fair because she was apologizing and trying to make things right. She said everyone makes mistakes and that I should forgive her since she was willing to change. Just then, Paula's car pulled into my driveway. She got out with coffee and bagels from this place we had talked about wanting to try. Tamara saw her and asked who she was and why she was coming to my house so early. I introduced Paula as my friend from high school. Tamara immediately got suspicious and asked how long we had been hanging out. I told her we had reconnected recently and had been spending time together. Tamara got really upset and said she couldn't believe I was already seeing someone else when we were supposed to be working things out. I pointed out that she was the one who had moved out and that I hadn't heard from her in over a week except for text demanding an apology. Paula could tell there was tension and said maybe she should come back another time. But I told her to stay and that Tamara was just leaving. Tamara started crying again and said this wasn't over and that she wasn't going to give up on our relationship. She finally left after I told her several times that I didn't want to work things out. She said she would be staying at Veronica's and that I should call her when I came to my senses. That was 2 weeks ago. Tamara has texted me a few times since then, but I haven't responded. Paula and I have been spending a lot of time together and I really enjoy being with her. She respects what I do for work and seems genuinely interested in my business. She even referred one of her coworkers to me for some electrical work at their house. I keep thinking about what Tamara said at that dinner and how she acted for months before that. I don't think someone who truly respects you would be embarrassed to tell people what you do for work, especially when you're successful at it. Paula makes me remember what it feels like to be with someone who appreciates what you've built instead of constantly putting it down. Update 2. Another update for everyone who has been following this situation. Things have taken some interesting turns since my last post. Paula and I have been dating for about 2 months now and things have been going really well. She's nothing like Tamara. She's genuinely interested in my business and often asks how jobs are going. Last month, she even came to see the commercial building where my crew was rewiring the entire electrical system. She said it was fascinating to see the work in progress and that she was impressed by how much my guys clearly respected me as their boss. We've been taking things slow, but last weekend she met my parents when they came to visit. My mom loved her immediately. After Paula left, my mom said she couldn't understand what I had ever seen in Tamara and that Paula seemed much more mature and supportive. But here's where things got complicated. 3 weeks ago, I got a call from Tom, Veronica's boyfriend from that awful dinner. He asked if we could meet up for coffee because he wanted to talk to me about something important. I almost said no, but my curiosity got the better of me. When we met up, Tom apologized for how that dinner had gone. He said that after I left, Dewey and the girls had spent the rest of the evening talking about my business and how much money I probably made. He said Dewey had looked up average salaries for electrical contractors and realized I was likely making significantly more than either of them. But then Tom told me something that really surprised me. He said that over the past few weeks, he had been hearing things from Veronica about Tamara that made him uncomfortable. Apparently, Tamara had been telling Veronica and Bianca that she was only with me for the financial security and that she had never really been attracted to me physically. She had said that once she found someone better who made good money and had a more respectable job, she would leave me. Tom said Veronica had been bragging to him about how smart Tamara was for finding someone who would pay all her bills while she figured out her next move. Veronica had even said that Tamara was actively looking at dating apps to see what other options were out there, but that she was being careful not to leave me until she had something better lined up. I was shocked. Tom said he felt guilty for not saying anything sooner, but that he had thought it was just girl talk and none of his business. But when Veronica started suggesting that Bianca should do the same thing with Dewey, find someone who made more money while staying with him for security, Tom realized how messed up the whole situation was. He also told me that after that dinner, Tamara had been furious about how much money I made because it ruined her narrative about me being unsuccessful. Veronica had told him that Tamara felt stupid for not realizing sooner that I was actually doing better financially than she was, and that she was angry at herself for potentially losing her comfortable situation. Tom said that Veronica and Bianca had been encouraging Tamara to do whatever it took to get back with me because they were jealous that she had found someone who made so much money and owned his own house. They had told her to apologize and pretend to respect my job, but to keep working on getting me to move downtown and spend more money on the lifestyle they thought she deserved. I thanked Tom for telling me all this. He said he felt bad about how they had all treated me at dinner and that he was starting to see Veronica differently after hearing how she talked about relationships. He said it made him wonder if she was with him for the right reasons too. A few days after meeting with Tom, I got a text from Tamara asking if we could meet up to talk. She said she had been doing a lot of thinking and that she realized she had made a huge mistake. She wanted to explain herself and see if there was any way we could work things out. I decided to meet with her, partly because I was curious to see if what Tom had told me was true, and partly because I felt like I needed closure. We met at a coffee shop near her work. Tamara showed up looking like she had put a lot of effort into her appearance. She apologized again for the dinner and for how she had been treating my work. She said she had been influenced by her friends and that she realized now how successful and ambitious I actually was. But then she started talking about our future together and it became clear that nothing had really changed. She said that now that she understood how well my business was doing, we could afford to move to a nicer place downtown. She talked about how we could travel more and how she could quit her job at the jewelry store to focus on other things. She never once asked about Paula or acknowledged that I might have moved on. She just assumed that once she apologized and showed that she now respected my income, everything would go back to how it was before. I told her that I was seeing someone else and that I wasn't interested in getting back together. She got upset and said that whoever I was seeing was just a rebound and that we had too much history together to throw it all away over one fight. When I told her it wasn't just one fight but months of her putting down my work and making me feel like what I did wasn't good enough, she said she had already apologized for that and that I needed to stop holding grudges. I left that meeting feeling like I had made the right choice. Tamara still didn't really understand why her behavior had been so hurtful. She was just sorry that her attitude had potentially cost her financial security. Paula has been incredibly supportive through all of this. She doesn't get jealous or insecure when I tell her about Tamara's attempts to get back together. She just listens and says that she's glad I can see the difference between someone who respects me and someone who doesn't. My business has been doing really well lately too. I landed 2 major commercial contracts that will keep my crew busy through the end of the year. Paula celebrated with me when I got the news and said she was proud of how hard I work and how much I've accomplished. It's nice to be with someone who sees my success as something to be celebrated rather than something to be embarrassed about. Update 3. Final update on this whole situation. I think I can finally put this chapter behind me. A lot has happened since my last post. Paula and I are now officially together and things couldn't be better. Last month, I asked her to move in with me and she said yes. She loves the house and has already started talking about maybe getting a dog together. She fits into my life in a way that Tamara never did. The best part is how proud Paula is of my work. 2 weeks ago, I had to go handle an emergency call at the hospital where she works. Their backup generator had an electrical issue and they needed someone who could fix it quickly and safely. Paula watched me work and later told her coworkers that her boyfriend was the one who had solved the problem. She was genuinely excited to tell people what I do for work. We've also started planning a trip to Colorado for Christmas. Paula is excited about the hiking and camping we're planning to do. She's been researching trails and even bought us matching hiking boots. It's refreshing to be with someone who enjoys the same things I do instead of constantly wanting something different. As for Tamara, things got messy before they got resolved. About 6 weeks ago, she started showing up at my job sites. The first time, she came to a residential job I was working on and told the homeowners that there had been a family emergency and she needed to speak with me right away. The homeowners were concerned and let her interrupt my work. When I came outside, Tamara said she needed to talk to me about something urgent regarding her health. I asked her what was wrong and she said she couldn't discuss it at my job site, but that it was serious and we needed to go somewhere private to talk. I told her that if it was a real emergency, she should go to the hospital or call someone in her family. She admitted that it wasn't exactly a medical emergency, but that she was having a hard time dealing with our breakup and needed to see me. I told her she couldn't keep coming to my work sites and left. She did it 2 more times over the next week. Once at a commercial job and once at another residential site. My clients started getting concerned about the drama and one of them even asked if everything was okay with my personal life because they didn't want to get involved in relationship problems. I realized I needed to be more direct. I called Tamara and told her that if she showed up at any more of my job sites, I would call the police for harassment. She cried and said she just missed me and didn't know how else to get my attention since I wasn't responding to her texts. Around the same time, Tom called me again. He said that Dewey had broken up with Bianca after she had suggested he should look for a better job that paid more money so they could afford a nicer lifestyle. Dewey had realized that Bianca was more interested in what he could provide than in him as a person. Tom also said that he and Veronica were having problems because she kept comparing their relationship to what Tamara had had with me. Veronica was pressuring Tom to make more money and kept suggesting that they should move in together so she could quit her job and focus on other things. Tom said he was starting to understand why I had walked out of that dinner. He told me that Tamara had been complaining to Veronica about how I was being stubborn and immature by not giving her another chance. Veronica had been encouraging Tamara to keep trying to get back together with me because she thought Tamara was crazy for giving up on someone who owned his own house and made good money. But then Tom said something that really surprised me. He said that Veronica had been talking to other guys behind his back, trying to find someone who made more money than he did. She had been telling Bianca and Tamara that they should all be looking for upgrades instead of settling for their current boyfriends. Veronica had apparently created profiles on dating apps and had been meeting up with men who worked in finance or law. She was telling her matches that she was single and looking for someone who could provide her with a more luxurious lifestyle. Tom found out when one of his coworkers saw Veronica on a dating app and showed him her profile. Tom confronted her and she said she was just looking at her options and that there was nothing wrong with wanting to find someone more successful. They broke up the next week. Tom said he felt like an idiot for not seeing earlier that Veronica was more interested in his potential earning power than in him as a person. He apologized again for how that dinner had gone and said he wished he had spoken up when they were all putting down my work. After Tom and Veronica broke up, Tamara stopped getting encouragement to keep pursuing me. Bianca was also dealing with her own relationship problems after Dewey left her. Without her friends pushing her to keep trying, Tamara finally seemed to accept that we weren't getting back together. I got one final text from her about 3 weeks ago. She said she was moving back in with her parents to save money and that she hoped I would be happy with Paula. She said she realized now that she had made a mistake and that she should have appreciated what we had together. I didn't respond to that text either. Paula and I were having dinner when I got it and she could see that I was reading something that bothered me. When I told her what it said, she just squeezed my hand and said she was glad that Tamara was finally moving on. Paula and I have talked about marriage recently. Not in a serious planning way, but just about what we both want for the future. She wants kids someday and so do I. She loves that I own my own business and have talked about maybe expanding it in a few years. She's even suggested that she could help with the bookkeeping once she learns more about how the business works. It's amazing how different things can be when you're with someone who actually respects what you do and wants to build a life with you instead of trying to change you into someone else. My business is doing better than ever. I hired another electrician last month and we're booked solid through next spring. I'm thinking about buying a second truck and expanding into some commercial maintenance contracts. Paula is excited about the growth and has been helping me research business loan options for the expansion. I dodged a bullet with Tamara. Looking back, I can see that she was never really interested in building a life together. She was just looking for someone who could provide her with the lifestyle she wanted while she kept her options open for something better. I'm grateful that dinner happened because it showed me who Tamara really was before I wasted any more time with her. And it led to me reconnecting with Paula, who has turned out to be everything I could have hoped for in a partner. Sometimes the worst moments in your life lead you exactly where you need